guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is how to do cat eye nails. If you have followed my journey over the past year and a half, you'll see I love cat eye. I use cat eye in pretty much every single set. So it's safe to say I've gone through a lot of trial and error with how to, wizard the magnets and get it to do what you want it to do. I'm going to be breaking this video down into segments. So there'll be like a good to know section, products, both for like cat eye gels and magnets, and then some demos for kind of like common cat eye designs, how to achieve them. As always, I'll have chapters so you can navigate as you want. And all the products shown in this video will be linked in the description below. Mainly be featuring the D-Gel Black Label collection and also the Bon Noir Blooming collection, which is a collection of 10 super flash sparkly cat eyes as well. Full transparency, these two collections were sent to me by Sweet Nail Supply as PR. I just thought these two collections would be perfect to demonstrate all the kind of arrays of cat eye. Hopefully this video is super helpful. Please like and subscribe and let's go into it. Okay, as always, welcome to Hope's How-To Corner, where I go through general tips and must-knows for doing cat eye nails. Firstly, just a couple of points on prerequisites. When you're working with cat eye gel, make sure that you're not using a metallic tip stand because that metal will actually affect the cat eye particles. I always use a plastic nail stand. They look like this. Similarly, with lighting, I find like a spotlight is the best for working with a cat eye gel or getting a cat eye gel to like look its best. You basically just want to avoid having a lighting setup which is like a lot of even lighting. But if you do that, like there's light coming from all different directions, so it kind of makes the cat eye really difficult to see. I have all my like room lighting turned off. So the only light that I have on is my nail desk lighting, which is a gooseneck lamp, which is on like 40% brightness. And then I'll have like some sort of spotlight LED panel as well, kind of angled from my camera. And I find this setup helps me to get like the most accurate and powerful kind of like brightness from my cat eye gel, especially when I'm filming it as well. And last point is just to consider like just the nail tip shape that you're doing your cat eye design on. I find that like cat eye looks best on round or ballerina / coffin shape. It's a little bit trickier to work with cat eye gel on like a stiletto or like very pointy almond shape. Basically anything that has like a super sharp point is a little bit more tricky. Anything that's like more even or rounded on the edge is easier, but you can still make both work. Number one is always make sure that you're activating your cat eye pearls before you go in with doing your design. Whenever I start a cat eye nail design, I always scrub down the right side of the nail. My preference is going in with quite a strong magnet for this. So I will use like a short round cylindrical magnet and basically gather all the particles down that one side. Then step two, with the same magnet, going down the left side in quite a swift motion to gather all the particles to the front of the nail. And then from that point is where I start moving the pearls into the kind of design that I want them to be. So if it's a French tip, I'll push them down to the bottom, and then with whichever magnets I'm using, I'll kind of maneuver them, manipulate them however I want. I'll cover more on specific magnets and designs in the next part. And then once you've magnetized your nail to where you want it to be, to stop the pearls from just immediately moving, I'll keep my magnet there for like 5 to 10 seconds and then immediately pull it away. I find this is the best to keep the pearls where they are without immediately moving once you move the magnet, and then immediately go in with that flash cure lamp. Make sure you have your flash cure lamp like turned on and within arm's reach. Once you've flash cured, always make sure to cure for the full amount of time as well in between layers. So for me, 60 seconds in a full curing unit. I used the Coquist Infinity lamp. Make sure for this that you're always reading the guidance of the gel manufacturer for the duration of how long to cure, and also if it's a UV only lamp, an LED only lamp, or UV LED lamp. Main thing is that you're always flash curing, but then doing a full cure in between layers as well, just to make sure that all the particles are fully cured as you're working on your design. Also make sure you always top coat with a really good quality top coat, because I find cat eye usually shows up a lot of these small details. So if there's any small errors or glitches in your gel, you will be able to see it. And that goes for both a matte or a like glossy top coat. Also for me personally, I magnetize the second layer of a cat eye gel to get the most saturation of the base coat. So I usually paint one layer of the cat eye gel non-magnetized, like I'll push all the particles away and cure that, and then I'll go in and magnetize the particles on the second layer only to get like more saturation saturation of that base color. Or if it's a really glassy syrup, then you can also paint it on a white syrupy gel polish and magnetize that layer straight away. Or you can get like a really nice, pronounced, less glassy color of the base gel. Shout out to Sweetheart Sage Nails on Instagram, because I got that little hack from her. And then the last point is on understanding the science and the physics behind magnets. I am not a physicist, but I have done some research into this. So I'm going to try and explain this to you in the most easy to understand, simple terms. Because understanding how a magnet and magnetic fields work will really just help you understand where to move your magnet to get the pearls to do what you want them to do. Every magnet has a magnetic field and a north and a south pole. Basically, a magnetic field kind of loops around a magnet, and the cateye particles will basically want to align themselves in line with that magnetic field. The magnetic field will generally always concentrate in the center of the end of the magnet. Hence, you should always use this end area of the magnet as like your alignment point. There's two really useful resources I found for this as well, so I'll link them in the description. Number one being 2 TikToks by @NailtArtisan. This video here, really good bite-sized video for cat eye gels. And then also I did find a Reddit on the Reddit Lacaristas Reddit. That one's a bit more sciencey, but I think it still help. For example, this is a direct quote from them, which I found super helpful, which was, magnetic pigments tend to align themselves with magnetic field, aka into the magnetic field line. When the magnetic field is stronger, the pigment particles are more strongly forced into alignment. I've done a bunch of scribbles of diagrams on how this kind of looks for different magnets. So if it's like a round cylindrical magnet, it'll kind of like go around the sides evenly. The point end of a round cylindrical magnet is where the magnetic field is going to be the strongest. Whereas if it's like a long bar magnet, the magnetic field is not evenly around it. It kind of comes out from the sides, which is why if you move this magnet to the end of your nail, like you'll see the particles, they kind of like split into like a V. And that's why with like this magnet, you kind of want to have it horizontally flat to the side of the nails to pull the particles to that area. Yeah, science. Hopefully these diagrams help. Again, I'm not a physicist, I'm not a scientist, but I think knowing the basics of every magnet has a north and a south point with a magnetic field that kind of loops around it in an oval shape, and that your cateye particles are always going to want to align themselves in line with that magnetic field helps to figure out, okay, how do I need to maneuver my magnet to get my particles where I want them to be? So I definitely just recommend just experimenting with a cateye gel with some of your magnets to kind of figure out, okay, so this is probably roughly where the field is. If I do my magnet in this direction, this is where the particles are going to align, because they don't all behave the same. They're not all made the same either, which I'll cover in the next part. Okay guys, I don't really think there's a better way of me showing you the variety of magnets that I own. I have a lot, and this is not even the full complete set of magnets that you can own. There's more that exist I don't have. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be focusing on these 6 magnets. Magnets can come in cases or not. This is a standard round short magnet, which I have in a holder. You can buy this holder on Sweetie Nail Supply. Also, like these square ones, you can usually pry out of their cases as well, or you can slide them up. And if you're going to do this, it does affect the magnetic field a little bit. Side note, you really want to avoid snapping your magnets together because it does chip them. If you can see there and there. And I do think chips actually affect the magnetic field slightly from my experience. I'll also say that the brand of your magnet actually does matter. Not all magnets are made equal, and I find that Japanese branded magnets tend to be the best. They also tend to be made of something called neodymium, which I know this one from Mine B is as well. So these are like general ice gel. This is like a random bar magnet, and then this one is from T-Gel. Korean magnets are also really, really good. Just be aware that if you're going to buy magnets from like AliExpress or Amazon or Temu, the quality of them might not be as great. Having said that, not all magnets are made equal though. The strength of a magnet will vary depending on the brand as well, and magnets also lose their strength over time as well in a process called aging, but it's something super slow, like 1% every 100 years. But I just try to keep them stored apart from each other just so the fields aren't constantly in competition. Short round bar magnet. This is probably my most used magnet now. This is like your standard one. I believe the magnetic field on this one is like this, but it's like very concentrated, so super strong. I personally bought this blank holder for it from Sweetie Nail Supply, and this is just so nice to use. Like, it's so much nicer to use this kind of magnet in a holder like this. I'd probably categorize this as my strongest magnet. It's a very strong magnet. So it's really great for activating particles, like scribbling down the sides. But depending on the design you're doing, sometimes this is actually a little too powerful. This brings us onto the long round rod magnet. These ones are usually encased all the way around. Again, the magnetic field on this is kind of like all the way around, but because it's bigger, I find it's very, very smooth. You have a bit more control with it and you can get a very nice, even kind of activation or line with this. I personally really like this for a wide shine design, but this one, even though it's bigger, I would say this is like strong strength, but actually not as strong as the short round, which is quite nice because it's still strong but more user-friendly and can gather the particles together really nicely and evenly. Like, you have a little bit more time with this magnet. Is my second most used. I've had it in my kit for 2 years and I bought it back, and I also have gifted this one to others as well because I love it so much. My third most used magnet is actually this one from B, but this specific one is actually not the same size as like your standard one that comes in a holder. It's a bit wider and it's a 3-piece. So you have like the standard kind of like smaller one, and then you have this one. This is like a very mini, if you look at it in comparison, super, super small. I'd say in total, they're all kind of like a weak to medium strength. I really like this, firstly, to scrub the nail like this, and then you can attach them, just being careful not to let them smash, because as you can see, they do chip very easily. And then you can kind of like hover up and it gives a really, really nice French tip. Like, I really like this 3-piece, it's very nice. But I feel like you can probably makeshift something like this with other magnets you own as well. And that's one thing as well, is like, whatever magnets you own, don't be afraid to like experiment with them together and see what you can do with them. Because as a bonus, I also have this Ungu curved magnet, which I didn't do demos with in this video, but this is also really, really nice. And something that you can like also attach to like a round magnet, like an even nicer curve. Fourth is one of these long bar magnets. Honestly, I very, very rarely use this. I only really use it if I want a super concentrated French tip, because I think this gives you like a very sharp, clean, curved French cateye. This is like a medium to strong, depending on how you're angling it. You kind of want to think of the magnetic field being like horizontally coming outwards like this. Like here. And that's why if you leave this one turned this way, all the magnetic particles are aligning themselves in line with the magnetic field that's like here. Whereas if you move it this way, it's pulling them all down or all above. That's my understanding of this magnet. And this magnet is honestly the most difficult for me to use. I very, very rarely use it. You can also experiment with using it on the sides, horizontally upwards as well. I think understanding how the magnetic field works on this is very useful to using it. It's still just not my favorite to use. Like, I really, really love round magnets. And I feel like once you try a round magnet, it's kind of difficult to go back to this. But it's still good. It's still like a good starter magnet as well. Okay, fifth used on the list is one of these short magnets. I would say this is also like a pretty common starter magnet for people. If you're gonna have it, try to get tweezers and push it out so that the magnetic field is more exposed. And I just want to believe again, the magnetic field is horizontal, but experiment with your specific magnets. Weak to medium strength, so don't expect to get like a super strong activation of your pearls with this. But sometimes, depending on the design you're doing, you actually do want a weak magnet. If I'm going to use this or even the long bar magnet, I'll usually activate my pearls with a rod magnet first and then finish with the rectangular one. And then last magnet, this is actually a bonus, and this is very new, hence why it's in 6th place. I do not know how much I'm going to be using it yet, but this was actually put in as the magnet with the DJL Black Label collection. I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw that this was the magnet they put in, because I didn't own this, and I keep seeing a lot of people using a variation of this. So again, it's 2 rods. You have like a wider one and then a slimmer one. The slimmer one is pretty much the same size as those small rods that you can get, but I think it's a little bit wider. And then the wider side is slightly smaller than your standard short round magnet. So far, my experience with this, it worked super, super nicely for some of my test demos. I believe this side was a little bit weaker. This side was a bit stronger. I'd put them both at like medium to strong strength. But yeah, very, very nice. If you get the DJL Black Label collection, then you get a very nice magnet with it. And then here's a demo of those 6 magnets for the exact same cat eye design. From left to right, we have the D-gel wooden double-sided magnet that comes with the Black Label collection. Short, round, cylindrical magnet, long, round, cylindrical magnet, long, round, rectangular magnet, long, rectangular bar magnet, 3-piece magnet, and then the short rectangular magnet. And these are all using the D-gel DS233 Steel Noir gel, which is like that silky cat eye. For this design in specific, the long rectangular bar magnet actually performed the best, I would say, in terms of like the shape, the evenness, and the brightness, like the activation of the particles. The other 2 kind of rectangular magnets, being the 3-piece and then the shorter rectangular one, also worked well. Whereas for this design, those kind of round magnets don't perform as well, which kind of makes sense when you consider the magnetic field and how the magnetic field forms. More even on a rectangular magnet, it's more pointed in one place on a round magnet, which is why these ones look a little bit more orby, but you can still get a very similar effect. And then the weakest one was actually the long round cylindrical magnet, which I found quite interesting. But yeah, I just thought it was super interesting to see how even if you follow the exact same steps, every magnet is going to perform a little differently. And it's not that like one magnet is better than the other, it's just some magnets are better for certain designs over other magnets. The next component to cat eye gel nails is the gel polish itself. And the main thing to note here is that the particle sizes in cat eye gel is not made equally. Particle sizes are measured in something, it looks like pretty sure you do not pronounce it like but it's this symbol here. And the smaller the number, the finer the particle size. So you will see on some cat eye polishes, they might actually measure it in that cat eye number. This is why I thought the D-Gel Black Label collection would actually be perfect for this video, because there's such an array of particle sizes in this collection. Like, look at this swatch card. Absolutely insane. So as for super, super fine particle sizes, D-Gel DS233 Steel Noir. You can see this one is a super, super silky cat eye. You can get such a nice, smooth, yeah, silky kind of vibe to this. More of a standard cat eye particle size with DS229 Urban Smoke. It's still very almost silky, but just a little bit bigger. Then it goes more into like your flash cat eyes with DS236 Silver Skyline, which, oh my god, guys, this one in person is crazy. Look at that, that's wild. Bigger particle size, just more sparkly. It just captures the camera and the flash so beautifully. Then of course, cat eye also comes in many variations. Like you can have additional glitter, additional shimmer, a base color that's different. So for example, this Bon Noir Blooming BM06 is an example of one where you have like a very glassy syrup base mixed with a multicolor glitter and then your flash cat eye. This one has the addition of multicolored glitter in the base. Some other notable collections also kind of following that multicolored theme is the Devox New Moon, which is more like silky. For example, DMO9 from New Moon. See that there? The glitter mixed with the cat eye on like a kind of colored base, and White Knight, which is more like glittery flash. DM29 from White Knight. Some multicolored glitter tones in the base on like a colored base, and then have more of like a glittery flash cat eye in this one. So yeah, honestly, this is what makes cat eye so addicting to me, is just the variety of finishers. And Korean and Japanese nail brands be innovating all the time as well. Then the last kind of cat eye product, which is not actually a gel, but it's these powders that you can buy. So these are from Ungu, the Magnet Fancy Powder in purple and the Gleam Glow Magnet. They're kind of like a standard, and this is a flake. Like you can see this moving as I move the magnet around it. If you're going to be using these, make sure that you keep your magnet away from it when it's open. Obviously, you don't want all the particles to go onto your magnet. It's chaos to try and clean up if you do that. So yeah, word of warning with that. But these are so, so fun to use because you can basically custom mix any cat eye that you want. My general like ratios is gel and mixing gel, 2 pumps of this to like 2 or 3 drops of this. And I usually add these in using a dotting tool as well. It's best to apply these into like a clear or a transparent glassy syrup base. If you apply them into anything that's a bit more opaque, it tends to just look a bit muddy because the particles in these kind of tone the base a bit more grey, gunmetal silver. And then here is an example going from the silkiest all the way to flake. Maybe if I hold them like this, you can see a little bit better. This is a 4UM Silky D-Gel DS233 Still Noir, D-Gel DS229 Urban Smoke, which is more of like a standard cat eye particle size. This one is a 12UM particle size, so you can kind of see in comparison. DS236 Silver Skyline, which is kind of like that flash silver. Oh my god, insane. Another flash, one of the Bon Mois Blooming collection gels. Hopefully you can kind of see there as well, the like multicolored glitter in that. It's so difficult to capture on camera. And then this one is the custom Ungu mix. It does pull a little bit more silver, but you can see a little bit of a purple tinge to it. And I categorize that one more of a flake rather than a flash. Honestly, this is why cat eye is so addictive to me, is just like all the different kind of finishes. Then of course, another huge component to cat eye nails is the cat eye design itself. I found this really cool chart on TikTok. They kind of gave a name to like a bunch of the most common cat eye designs. So we're going to be referring to this. I'll also leave it linked in the description if you want to download it for yourself. So we have wide shine, French. They call this light chasing. I personally call these orbs. I did more of a concentrated one and then like a bigger orb, smile line cat eye, and then a curved cat eye. I also sometimes call this like a line cat eye, and these are all using the D-Gel DS234 shade Asphalt Blue. Hopefully if I show you like this, you can see how stunning that cat eye is. Oh my goodness. Personally, these 6 designs are my most used cat eye designs. For a wide shine design, it's very easy to do. You just want to make sure that you use a very strong magnet to activate the particles to begin with. And then of course, pull down to the other side. To get even more impact, you can kind of hover your magnet from the top and the bottom as well. I find there's like a little bit of push and pull with this. It gets easier the more you do it, but like if you kind of like hover it and then like shift it and then like pull away, you can usually push the particles where they all concentrate evenly in the center. And for even more brightness on this design, I tend to do this design twice, so not magnetizing in the middle. So like I'll scrub, pull, top, bottom, and it'll look bright, but then I'll scrub again and then side, top, bottom, and it just gives me a bit more brightness usually. But it's very, very easy design and looks so cool. I just feel like sometimes this is a bit of an overwhelming design, so I tend to use it as like a base and then I'll put 3D on top of it. Next one is this kind of like French gradient cat eye. A little bit trickier, but still easy. Again, I always do the same steps. So scrub, pull, and then I'll push all the particles down to the bottom. Honestly, I change my mind a lot between the kind of magnet that I use for this. If I want something that's a bit more even, I'll usually stick with a round magnet, maybe like medium to strong strength, and I'll kind of like hover it here to gather the particles roughly in this area, and then maybe like move it around the sides, kind of like just wiggle the magnet around there until I feel like it looks like what I want it to look like. And then I'll go in and flash cure it immediately. Pretty easy one to do. Just takes a little bit of practice of building that muscle memory of where to hover it, how long to hover it for, which magnet to use. But she's cute. Very, very versatile design. I use this one a lot. And the fun part about this one is that it kind of like cascades up and down the nail. Again, I'd say it's like relatively easy. Okay, the next 2, my orbs. Could just show you them like this. So fun. And maybe even like this. You can see I did a smaller one and then a bigger one. I do find orbs are probably the most difficult design to do, and it's the newest one for me that I've kind of been learning. Make sure you're using like a round magnet. Same steps as always. So scrub, activate the particles, bring them to the front, and then you kind of like push them inwards into like roughly the center. And then you want to go round with your magnet and like round it. You can also experiment with like hovering it down here a little bit before you go into the circle, but there's a little bit of a learning curve to this. Use a round magnet for it, but use one that is maybe like a medium strength, because if you use one that's too strong, it generally like pushes it out of an orb too quick, if that makes sense. So like you'll be like moving it on this side, but then because it's so strong, it will push the particles the other way too quickly. If you have a little bit of a weaker magnet, you can get more of an even kind of like magnetization around to create more of a nicer ball effect. I do find this is also a design that you can overwork a bit too much as well. You can kind of see on the bigger one as well. It's not as much of an orb. I find it easier to make a very nice concentrated small orb, but making a bigger one is a bit more tricky. Definitely the most difficult design, but it's fun. In terms of a smile cat eye, I would actually say this one is also relatively easy. Activate down the sides, pull it to the front, push it down, and then you want to go in with a rectangular magnet on this, or like that 3-piece one. Basically just like pull it up to the side and then like tilt it. You need to experiment a little bit with the tilt and like kind of the distance. Also, if it's up and down above the nail, but you'll get there. You'll figure out, okay, so if I tilt it like this, at this distance, that's where the cat is going to be. I find a rectangular bar magnet is very strong, so it creates this really nice precise curve which cascades very nicely. When you're about to cure this one, make sure to kind of hold it there for 5 to 10 seconds and then quickly pull your magnet away. And that's how you kind of keep this nice curve. I don't know, something about the force field, I feel like maybe it keeps the particles in alignment a bit more if you hold it there for a bit longer. Definitely recommend doing that and then flash cure immediately. But yeah, she's pretty easy design. She's cute. I don't do this design as much, but it's cool. Last design, the curve or the line cat eye. This one's so easy, guys. You literally just scrub down the side and then you're done. That really is just it. If you want it to be the maximum that it can be, you can scrub down the side and then maybe pull it to the center and like push a little bit from all directions just to make sure that, you know, there's no particles which are like kind of trapped on the very ends around here. Then scrub again down this side. But really this design is literally just a case of scrubbing down this side. I tend to use like a medium strength round magnet for this because it's strong enough but not too strong where it keeps a really nice even amount of particles down the side. You can also use one that's like the Ungu curved magnet. That's really nice for this design because that kind of accommodates the slight nail curve really nicely as well. But yeah, honestly, this one's so easy. So easy to do. Admittedly, it's not a design that I use as much in my sets because I feel like it is a bit of a statement cat eye design. But if you have a set that this works for, then it can look really cool. Last section of this video, I want to just quickly show you some cat eye designs that I've done over 2024 and 2025, including some kind of tips for doing them. I personally really like flake cat eye. It's kind of like French gradient technique. This is kind of like 2 examples, but in specific, I love pairing cat eye with 3D. I just think it's so fun. If you're gonna do cat eye in 3D, I definitely recommend going with like a clear 3D design. So for example, here we have some little ghosts, which is just so fun. When you put it this way, they just kind of like sparkle underneath. Tips, if you're gonna do this kind of design, I really like to use the long round magnet for this, just because I find that that magnet, if you like hover it below a little bit, it kind of gives you like a nice sparkle without it being super even or concentrated. For every single design I do, I always activate the particle by scrubbing down the right side, pulling my magnet to the left side to bring all the particles to the front, and then I'll maneuver. For this design, I'll always push the particles downwards, and then like I'll hover up below with my long round magnet to kind of gather the particles in. You just get this super blinding kind of like flake design. I'm obsessed, I love it. And then just add any kind of like clear 3D elements onto it. And it just gives the cat eye its moment, but it adds a little bit of pizzazz, you know? Similarly, for this Soda Pop nail set, I've kept it quite simple with the 3D elements I added so that the cat eye could still shine. Super fun. You can also experiment with 3D and cat eye with fruit nails as well. Like I did that recently in my snowberry nails and I think it just looks really fun, really cool. I love layering, whether it's like blobs or swirls or flowers even, like in this set here that I made. There is like a combo here and swirls on top. My recommendation is just to keep the 3D elements clear. Next kind of way you can jazz up your cat eye is by mattifying it. So this is the Daimi, here you can see this is the Daimi Purple Flash Flake Custom Powder Mix on like a purple gel base on this nail as well. Mattified and then with 3D on top. You definitely get like a different finish if you're going to mattify your cat eye. It gives more of like a velvety look. If people have seen like glass nails or velvet nails, I think those designs have been trending recently. Basically just like playing around with your matte gel and then any kind of clear on top of it or 3D on top of it. It gives like a really fun design. The only thing to note with this is it does kind of dull the cat eye a little bit. It's not going to be as blinding, but it adds just some fun texture to the design. Likewise here, this one was with a bit more of a silky cut under the base, and it gives a bit more of a velvety appearance. Make sure to use a good quality matte top coat as well, because it really does make the world of difference. That like velvety smooth finish. I don't really do wide shine that much, but this is another example, a mix of a bunch of cat eye designs. So this is one of the Mayan bee gels. Here I did kind of like that hovering technique with the French, and then more of like a concentrated smile line French, and then a wide shine with like a 3D bow mold on it. And I think this is actually quite fun as well. Like, let's say you wanted to do a monotone one color set where you wanted the cat eye to be like the main piece, but you still wanted to add like a bit of variety to it. You can also mix your different cat eye designs across the set. Maybe I should do a set like this again. Let's say with the Bon Noir Blooming collection. I feel like that could be so fun. Also, side note, it's kind of crazy to see the progress that I made in a year. This was from Christmas 2024 last year. Also an example of the curved cat eye. I think this is the only set that I've done this design in, because I just feel like it can be quite overwhelming. If you're gonna do this curved design, it kind of needs to be, I feel like a lot of the other nails need to be quite simple, but there's like an asymmetrical curve, but I still like it. She's still cute. She still has her place and her moment. Okay, one of my fave designs recently is this kind of like orby, you know, like where it's the top part of the nail is an orb or like a French, and then you have like a clear French tip. I love how this looks. Oh my goodness. This one I did earlier this year, and this is like a French. So it's basically like as if you're gonna do a French, very concentrated French tip at the end. I used a 3-piece magnet for this, and you kind of like push it up towards the edge here, and then it kind of goes like this. I don't know, I really like how that looks. I still really like how that looks. And then I did a bit more of like an elevated version of that earlier this year in August for these cybersigillism nails, where this was the first set that I actually kind of like committed to doing an orb, and it's cute. It's so cute, right? This was with the Roseate Quartz collection as well. I just think that was such a pretty collection, and they look like little dancing gems. Oh my goodness, so pretty. But if you're gonna do an orb, I also would recommend like see how you want the design to look. So I think it looks nice if you have like a rounded part. Like say you commit to putting the orb on the top part, then I think it works nicely because it's like more of a round surface area rather than like it being like on a long tip. Like similarly, if you're going to do an orb design on like a short tip or like natural nail, I think it would also look good because you don't have as much length on it. I don't know, I think orb technique, personally it looks good if you put it on like a little bit of a shorter, more equal surface area. I do also see though like a lot of the Douyin nail techs, they'll put it on like the ends or they'll concentrate it here. And I think it can also look good. And one other point to call out in terms of like cat eye designs is I think cat eye plus like a liner gel, whether that's like white or black or chrome, also looks super cool because it just adds like a nice opaque contrast to your cat eye particles underneath. And if you also want to do that kind of design, then I would just recommend using a very fine brush for your line art and doing very fine line art as well so that you see a lot of that detailed definition. Don't make it like too complex, but don't make it too big or like blurry. These are from early in 2024, like spring 2024. Some of my earlier cat eye designs, but I thought I'd throw this in just as like a little bonus because another way that I've done cat eye in the past is by painting it in like shapes. These two butterflies on this nail, and then also this butterfly here, and in this kind of like flower shape here as well. If you want to do like a design like this where it's like a specific shape, you need to do it in layers. Do like your base, cure it all, be very detailed with how you paint your shape, like very specific because you can't change this. And then you basically want to go in with like actually a weaker to medium strength magnet and continuously like hover it around being flat. So like I like to use one of the small rectangle magnets for this, and I'll kind of like hover it around the nail until the particles move into the center and they're a bit even. That's why you want like a bit of a weaker magnet if you're going to do this kind of design, because if you do something that's too strong, it's going to pull too many of the particles one way whilst you're hovering it the other way. Like you want them to be even in the middle. Same with this one. I did like a side plus a flower plus a center. I did each one individually and I cured in between each step. Like the base, I got this to where I wanted it to be, and then I cured that, and then I did the flower, magnetized it, cured that, and then I did the center, magnetized it, cured that. So in steps, but you get some really cool kind of designs if you're patient with it. You just need to be a little bit patient, but it's cool. I really like this butterfly. Maybe I should redo something like this as well. And these were some of the first cat eye designs I did as well, guys, so it's not too intimidating. But yeah, guys, that's everything. Here's a one look at everything together, including my demos as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was super helpful. Cat eye is such a minefield or a gel nail technique, but once you get the hang of it, it's like so fun to do. And I love cat eye because if you're gonna use cat eye in a set, like you could go all out and use cat eye on every single nail, or you could just, you know, have it as like an accent nail. You can also play around with the matte or the top coat with 3D. Like, it's so versatile. Top 2 gel nail technique for me, hands down. As mentioned, if you're interested in any of the products that I used in this video, then they will be linked in the description, especially the DJL Black Label and the Bon Noir Blooming collections. And you can use code HOPE10 to save at Sweet Nail Supply. Thank you so much as always if you do choose to use my code. It really does help support me and, you know, help me keep making these videos for you. Question of the video, favorite cat eye technique? For me, and it is hard, I feel like a glittery kind of like French flash cat eye moment is like what I like. You know, like a super flash cat eye where it like kind of like goes up and down the nail. Kind of like what I did in my Soda Pop and Skeleton Halloween nails. But yeah, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching and goodbye.